One of the most common pieces of advice that I hear on photography YouTube is that gear doesn't matter. This is a lie. Okay, now that I've successfully captured your attention, let me take a few steps back and qualify what I'm saying. I'm not saying that you need the most high-end camera with the most expensive glass you can find to be able to take a photo that you are going to be happy with. And if you're just starting out, the best camera to start with is the one you have. And if you don't have a camera yet and you're wondering which one to get the one you can afford, even if it's a $10 camera from a thrift store. I say that gear matters because, in essence, cameras and lenses are just tools, creative tools. And the way my mind approaches a creative problem is going through a range of possibilities. And this range of possibilities is influenced by the tools that I have at my disposal. The tools kind of form creative stepping stones to get to the point I want to reach. And on a slightly more practical level, if you have a camera that you like using, you're gonna want to take it out more because you enjoy the process of shooting with that camera. And the more you shoot, the more photos you'll take. And through taking more photos, you'll take better photos. And to tag on to that, if a camera that you have has a story attached to it based on who you got it from, or when you bought it, or where you bought it, the way you acquired a piece of gear can greatly influence your feelings towards it. It's going to have this extra attachment to you. It'll make you want to use it more. And again, take more photos, take better photos. So with all of that being said, I would like to go through my camera collection as it stands now, being about 7 months into film photography, show you what cameras and what lenses I currently have, how I got them, and why they matter to me. So let's get into it. Okay, so the first film camera that I got doesn't actually work. It is this Goldie box camera from the 1950s. This was a gift from my dad, who inherited it from his dad. So this is my grandfather's camera. I'm pretty sure there will be some old family vacation photos that were shot on this camera. Unfortunately, it's very rusted and doesn't actually work anymore. But when I started getting into photography, just digital at the time, my dad came over once and was like, here, have this, I think you'll like it. So yeah, it's been a decoration piece ever since. It has a little special place on my shelf. Next up, the first film camera I bought myself. This is the Pentax Spotmatic SP2. I picked it up in a store and immediately just fell in love with the sound that it made and decided to take it home and fell down the film photography rabbit hole ever since. This is still the camera I shoot the most with. The sound, I still love it. It's a very fun camera to shoot. It's started to malfunction a little bit on me recently, so I hope that's not gonna continue. The mirror got stuck for a few shots while I was shooting a video that'll come out relatively soon. Maybe I broke my camera.
You broke your camera?
But yeah, it's functioning again now. It seems to work. It's got the super coated Takumar 55mm 1.8 manual lens on here. Beautiful lens, beautiful glass, solid metal construction, super solid camera. I really recommend, if you're starting, get a manual SLR. I still need to figure out if I can get a battery in this light meter to work. Currently, I've just been using a light meter on my phone with this one, but really recommend the Pentax SLRs, super solid cameras. Okay, next up, another camera that I got from my dad, and this is his Minolta Dynax 3XI. This is quite an interesting camera. I got this 2 days after I bought the Pentax. I came home with it and my dad was like, oh, I found this camera. You shooting film now? Here, take it. And it came with a roll of really old expired drugstore film that I shot later, and you can see in some of the results over here. So yeah, this is pretty much like one of the later SLRs. It's got more features that you would expect out of a digital camera, like it's got autofocus and some program modes, so it'll like automatically check the exposure and stuff for you. The most interesting part, I think, about this camera is the way the lens functions, because it's not like a manual lens where you turn it and the thing turns. It's like a motorized lens. So you hold it and then it zooms out, and you hold it and it zooms in again. And you can pull this ring back and it'll do like focusing. Super interesting camera. I shot a few rolls through it. I've mostly lent it to my girlfriend, who's put a few rolls through it as well. It's a nice camera. It's very fun. Completely different shooting experience from the manual SLR. This one, a little bit more beginner friendly maybe if you've never shot before, but I still do recommend picking up a manual SLR, you know, just jump in the deep end immediately. But if you can find one of these cameras, if you have one, try it out, it's fun, shoot it. Okay, then next up, it's another Minolta, another electronic camera. It's a panoramic point and shoot, the Panorama Zoom 28. This one I picked up on a flea market, antique market kind of thing, outdoor market, for 10 bucks. The lady was happy to be rid of it. She said her dad had so many cameras, she had a whole box of them. She was like, yeah, just pick out whatever you want, give me whatever money you want. I was like, okay, 10 bucks. She was like, yeah, sure. What makes this one fun is it has a little panorama button where the shutters come down. To me, it's such a fun shooting experience. It's very different from the manual, from like the bigger SLRs. I find that I'm a lot like more careless when shooting with this one, a lot more quick. I guess that fits with the point and shoot style camera. But also the panoramic images. It's very interesting to compose images quite differently than you normally would. And I think it makes for some pretty cool results, honestly. So yeah, very fun camera. Haven't shot it a lot recently, but put a good few rolls through it. Should take it out again soon. Panoramic point and shoots. Highly recommend, very fun. Next up is this boy, which is the Canon EOS 500N, which is made in the late 90s. And this is pretty much like the Canon Rebel. They're very similar to the early digital SLRs. Again, comes with a ton of features. It has a flash on there, a ton of program modes. You can adjust the ISO manually. It has autofocus, built-in light meter, of course. I think it has some like zone focusing type stuff too, because it has like landscape and portrait and close-up switches. This one can shoot in aperture priority, fully manual. Yeah, it's very, very multifunctional camera. Has a self timer on here. I think it even has like a double exposure setting where you can choose how many shots you want to do on every single frame. I think up to like 10. Pretty crazy. This one came with a 28 to 80 millimeter macro lens, like a Canon, just a Canon lens. This lens will also fit on the digital camera that I'm shooting on right now. I'm shooting this on a Canon EOS 250. My camera will take these lenses, but it also means that I can use a lot of the lenses that I got from my digital camera on this one, including the 50 millimeter Nifty 50 1.8 Canon that I think everybody who has a Canon SLR owns, and also this 85 millimeter 1.8 that I got for some cool, more portrait-y type photography. So pretty cool, pretty interesting. Additionally, I also got this little adapter ring so I can put all my M42 screw mount lenses on this camera system. This one, actually, when I got it, my dad mentioned to a friend that I was getting into film photography, and she said, oh, I still have a camera laying around, you can come pick it up whenever you want. So I showed up, this camera in a nice bag with the lens, with a flash, like an external flash. It even had some rolls of film, some expired rolls of film. One of them was in the camera, I opened it up without knowing, so I burnt a few frames, I think. But I did also end up shooting that roll, got some pretty interesting results for a roll that's been in a camera for like 20 years or something. Yeah, the roll that was in here was Kodak Ektar 400, which is pretty crazy, no longer made. Never seen that film before. Like I said, I've only been doing this for like 7 months, so it's all quite new to me. But yeah, I shot that one, got some pretty strange blue looking shots, pretty interesting. Next up, we have the Praktica Super TL2. This was my mom's old camera. A few months ago, she just showed to me, I was like, hey, we found this in the garage. And it came with a Carl Zeiss lens, the 50 millimeter, which unfortunately is broken. The aperture ring gets a little bit stuck. But yeah, she got this like 28, 30, 40 years ago, I don't know, a long time ago, when she was getting into photography a little bit. Shot it a few times, not really her thing, so it disappeared into a box in the garage and was forgotten about ever since. But I dug it out, I replaced the light seals on it, and currently I am shooting the first roll of film ever through it. It's got a working light meter, which I think is fantastic. So yeah, first time shooting this camera, first time shooting this lens that's on here. I got a Helios 44M, you know, the swirly bokeh lens I picked up recently. Very excited to try that one out. And currently in here is some Harman Phoenix. So my first roll of that, I think I'm about 10 shots into it. So very curious how that's gonna work out. I really like that I have all these old cameras that my parents used when they were younger. It really adds something to me. Like I said at the start of the video, like the story really makes a difference. Also, I gotta say, it's quite nice to have the working light meter in here, because I usually shoot on the Pentax. Even though the light meter on my phone, it works, It is a bit slow sometimes, and sometimes I'd like to get a shot a little bit quicker, but then I miss a shot because I'm like, oh, I have to meet the light, I don't know if it's correct, and then the moment passes and I miss a shot. It is what it is. You get better over time. But super nice camera. It's a little bit less nice of a build quality than the Pentax. You can tell it's a little bit cheaper. I think they have some like plastic that is coated as opposed to just all metal parts. For some of the parts, I think the top might be plastic with some spray paint coating over it. But yeah, altogether, quite a solid camera indeed. Next up is my latest acquisition, which is this Belora standard box. You can check out my previous video on it. I shot it for the first time a few weeks ago, and it was my first time shooting medium format film. This camera, my dad picked up for like $5 at a thrift store. And again, wanted to give it to me as like a decoration piece, not expecting it to actually work. But I opened it up and it seemed to just function. So I cleaned it up a little bit and I actually got a roll through it and it functioned. No light leaks. The compositions are a little bit messed up because I was trying to get too close and wasn't fully thinking about the viewfinders not being in the same spot as the lens. So my compositions were a little bit off and a little bit skewed as to what I would have liked. But honestly, I'm impressed that this camera still works. It's from 1954, I think. Super old, super cool, super vintage. This one also has a nice little decoration spot on my shelf because I just like how it looks. It's very fancy. Ooh, so nice. That's my latest camera. Latest and also possibly one of the oldest. Okay, so in addition to just some cameras, I do have some extra lenses as well. I have this one, which is the Meyer Optik Görlitz 135 2.8 lens. It's got the zebra stripes on the side. I think they made like Darth Vader's lightsaber inspired on these lenses. Looks very cool. Love the look of this one. Also, fun fact about this lens, it has 13 aperture blades. So the bokeh you could get out of this is absolutely insane. I haven't shot a lot with it so far. I took a few shots with it on a different camera that didn't really work out because I'm not used to shooting 135. It's like most of the focal lengths I shoot on are around like the 50 range, sometimes like 30, but usually 50. So 135 was a bit of a change for me. However, I have been using it on another video that's coming up relatively soon, where we shot some double exposures. So for the first round of exposures, we used this lens. I'm very curious to see how it works out. So yeah, this one also came with the Praktica Super TL2. This is a lens my mom bought back in the day. I think even she got it secondhand, so who knows how old this one is. But beautiful lens. You can lock the aperture in. Still works great. Super clean, no fungus, nothing. Very happy to have this one. I should take it out more. Maybe find some excuses to shoot 135, who knows, we'll see. So next up, again, this is the Carl Zeiss, the 50mm 2.8 aus Jena, DDR, Democratic Deutschlandrepublik or something. I'd love to shoot this one more. I shot a few shots with it, but I think they got overexposed because sometimes the aperture ring gets stuck at 2.8 when you stop it down, which not ideal if you're trying to shoot at like f8 and you're just blasting it with light. However, I did recently find a camera store nearby that has a contact for repairs of like old vintage stuff, like old cameras and lenses and stuff. So I might at some point send it off and get this one repaired, because I don't know, it's a legendary lens name. I'd like to be able to shoot with it, see if it lives up to the hype. I do like the look of this lens. It's very pretty. That's the next one. This came on the Praktica Super TL2, my mom's 50mm lens that now does not work. This is a 200mm lens out of Japan. I have no idea what lens this is. Like I know it's a 200mm 4.5. If anybody knows when it was made, I would like to know. Like the serial number's on here, but it didn't really correspond with any data I could find online. So I was trying to find out where it was made or who made it, where it came from. But yeah, if anybody knows more about this lens, I would love to know. Please let me know in the comments. I've only shot this one a few times, but I picked it up for 5-10 euros, something like that. It's very cheap. Yeah, I just thought it'd be nice to have. I ended up never really using it, but I'm sure I'll find an excuse to shoot it at some point in the future. Then, one of my newer acquisitions, I picked this lens up in Budapest when I was there for a month, and it is a 35mm or 30mm 3.5 Pentagon lens, which I thought it would go nice with the Praktica, because they are, you know, same company. Made in the GDR, so I think this is in West Germany then? Maybe I have those mixed up. Sorry, Germans. It's a cute little lens. I got quite a few shots with it. I'll probably put this back on the Praktica after I've shot this roll of Phoenix. And I think that's where that lens will live. So if I want to shoot 30mm, I'll just take that camera out. And yeah, that's about it. That's my camera collection as it stands at the beginning of 2024. I think I'll try to do one of these videos every year because I expect that this collection is going to get out of hand. So this will serve as a nice benchmark for me to see where I was at. I hope you enjoyed it and you like seeing the little details about the gear that I own and why I own it. And if you're not shooting film yet, go get a camera. Go out and do it. It's fun. And see you in the next one.